Well, welcome to this episode of Sooner Legends podcast. I have special guest Mike Boganowski, the father of Michael Boganowski, who we watched Saturday during the spring game, and he's already given the horns down. Good job, Mike. And let's get this party started, shall we?
Through 153 games, our record was 125, 24, 4, 2 People don't know what it is to be champions. Oklahoma invented it.
Well, welcome to this episode of Sooner Legends podcast. I'm your host, Mike the Legend, and if you don't mind, jump out and hit that red subscriber button for me. Turn on your post notification bells. That way you won't miss when I have special guests like this big dog daddy that joined me today, and give me a like and share with your friends. Mike, thanks for coming in today. Sure is a pleasure having you on here, sir.
Oh, thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it.
So before we get into your son Mike, you were a Division One football player, right?
Yeah, that is correct. I played at New Mexico State, 97 to 2001.
Oh, cool. What position did you play, sir?
I played defensive end.
Oh, well, yeah, I can see by the size of you. I know you're on your cell phone. You look like a pretty stocky dude.
Yeah,
So,
thanks.
and you played at New Mexico State, correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you during your years of playing? Did y'all have a winning record or?
Uh, you know, I think my senior year, I think we were, I want to say one game shy of a winning record, but being a smaller school, we always had to play those money games at the beginning of the years. So we played Texas a few times, Arizona State, Louisville, Georgia Tech. So we always kind of started 0-2, 0-3, and then had to work our way back up.
Yeah. Well, Mike, the big talk coming out of Saturday is your son Michael. I'm going to give you a two-part question. Uh,
Okay.
first of the two is when Michael got offered by Oklahoma. What was you as a former player yourself, father? What kind of emotions did you feel? And then ultimately, when Michael announced that he was going to attend the university, what kind of emotions come out as a father?
When he texted me, I was at work and he texted me. He's like, Oklahoma just offered me, and my first immediate reaction was like, that's another level. You know, that's that's a blue blood. I'm like, that was crazy, and super excited. Felt very blessed, fortunate, and I kind of knew for a while that he was going to commit there. Um,
Hmm.
so when he told me he wanted to go to Oklahoma, I had already kind of knew, but I just felt like it was the best place for him. Um, and as a parent, my wife and I, we felt like Norman was far, but not too far. So it kind of fit, and we just knew that coaching staff and Brent Venables Coach Hall would take care of our son, because that's one thing you
Did
think about when you send them off, like, all right, this is the next step, and you just want to make sure you're sending them to coaches that have his best interest in heart.
well, one thing I've always heard recruits talk about that gets recruited by BV and Coach Hall or Coach Belay is when after they commit and go through their spiel with reporters is BV and Brandon Hall or Jay Bly always makes mention that these recruits will be like family when they come on the campus. What did y'all have any interactions with BV and Coach Hall?
Oh, 100%. And it's all true, and I'll prove it. So the Friday before the spring game was my youngest son's Cameron's 10th birthday, and
Hmm.
we had a party. We had a party in Norman, um, and I invited you know all of them, and I knew they would have a lot of recruits in town, but a lot of the coaches, they brought their kids and brought them a gift. So when they say it's family, they mean it, and so I didn't expect much because it was a big weekend, but they showed up.
Yeah, exactly, Mike. And that's one thing I remember Coach V when he was defensive coordinator for Oklahoma for all the years, and then at Clemson, DC, and then he comes back. I know what kind of culture that BV wanted when he first set foot at campus here at Norman. Uh, is that what impressed you by BV? Is the culture that he is bringing to the university?
Oh, I'd probably say that's one of the biggest, one of the biggest, if not the biggest. His culture, and and what he's done at every stop of his coaching journey. I mean, the results speak for itself. I mean, you go in his office and he's got the jewelry to prove it.
Yeah. So I take it you've been in his office a couple of times,
Yeah,
Mike?
we've had a couple talks in there for sure.
Now this is another thing that I've always heard when you talk to Brent Venables is after you talk to him, you want to pad up and run through a brick wall for him. Did that ever cross your mind?
Yeah, oh, no doubt. He gets you going. Your mind's telling you like, yeah, I'll go to war with that dude, and I probably got, I was always joking with my son. I'm like, man, I think I could find a year of eligibility somewhere now, with a grad transfer or a COVID year, maybe I can get, but and then I get up from the chair and I'm like, yeah, I'm good, never mind.
Yeah. Well, what people already know this, but I'm kind of doing the Captain Obvious questions, Mike. I apologize. You're the first father or football player I've ever had on my show, so kind of bear
Okay.
with me. Uh, uh, so, did oh my mind slipped. I'm sorry, Mike. When you went to the here it is. When you went to the spring game Saturday, other than Michael, which being a father, all eyes are. But did anything else jump out on the charts of you during the spring game?
Yeah, I'm a defensive guy. Um, I saw a lot of good things from a lot of players. You know, I was really really impressed. And I've watched the spring game probably about 4 or 5 times now on
Mhm.
YouTube. I don't know if it ever got back up on ESPN Plus, but it was down for a while. But there's a condensed version on YouTube that just kind of goes from play to play. And I've watched that a couple times, and our defensive line, and some of the older guys that have progressed, and Spears and Halton, and
Mhm.
the two freshmen, Jaden Jackson and David Stone, man. Like, there's one play that pops out to me with Jaden Jackson is he commanded a double team, split it, and made the tackle. And
Yeah.
as a freshman, I think about me as a freshman on the D line, and I was getting blown off the ball 10 yards by a double team, and what he did, it's unbelievable, man. These kids are good these days. Uh, I like what I saw from our ends.
Yeah.
PJ looked good. Ethan Downs, he's proven, he's gonna be
Yeah.
great. Um, Obviously the linebacking core. Um, I mean, you don't really have to go much into that. They don't get you don't get much more solid than our linebackers.
No,
Um,
I there was one play of from Kobe McKenzie that he stood up X Robin
oh
Xavier
yeah.
Robin, and dude, that was one heck of a hit.
hmm Met him right in the hole, stood him up. Yeah, that's what you got to
Well,
do.
Here's a question from one of the viewers from Kim Hurst. He said, "Did the Soul Mission have any sway on your son's decision?"
Yeah, I mean, point blank. Yeah, I mean, it's a big part of what Oklahoma does, and it's a big part of, you know, like I mentioned earlier, them continuing the development of your child once you hand it off to them. You know,
Yeah,
making sure, making sure they're getting to class, taking trips, being of service, um, micro internships, interviews, like all that stuff that broadens their perspective in making them and preparing them for adulthood.
yeah, and that's the thing, Mike. As I told you in the green room before we came on, I've been an OU fan since 1970, and this Soul Mission,
Mhm.
it, I tell you what, that is probably the best thing that's ever happened to OU is getting these young men out in the community doing good things for the elderly, just what they're doing in the community.
It and we've seen some schools in the last year and a half, and there's schools that talk about stuff like this, but Oklahoma's commitment to it is about three steps above everybody else in places that we've
Exactly.
been. So
Exactly.
it's the real deal, and they're serious about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was last year. I can't remember the name of the player that was living off campus, and we had a tornado come through in his home. I don't think it was all the way destroyed, but it was destroyed a little bit. And this Soul Mission was on it. And then
hmm
they built all these bunk beds for needy people, going out and cleaning up. Uh, we had a windstorm last year, and every one of them was out there cutting up limbs, uh,
Yep.
doing their part, playing. What impressed me the most is when there was children involved. These players was interacting with these children as if that was their little brother and sister.
Yep. Yep. I remember seeing those videos. I
And
definitely remember, and it's big. You know, a lot of the times the kids these days, they get engrossed in their phone and they get engrossed in themselves and social media and putting the phones down and going helping other people and being of service to people, that makes you feel a different way, and it kind of gets your mind back into, it's good to help other people, and it makes you feel good, instead of the instant gratification from a like and stuff like that. So I'm a big fan of it.
yeah, we got another question for you, Mike, from one of the viewers. Rhyming Lemon, did any other players help in the recruitment as well?
I think there's a few. I Nigel and Jaden Hardy. They they talked a lot and played a little video games, some Call of Duty. Um,
Hmm.
you know, those two are the ones that stick out. His host was Justin Harrington, and he was
Yeah.
a big part in it too. Um, I think Jared Kanak too as well. He's a Kansas kid, so
Yep.
he lives a couple hours west of us. So there was some big there was and they've played each other when Mike was a sophomore.
Oh
Um,
wow.
they yeah, they played each other in a preseason scrimmage. So there's
Uh-huh.
some history there. So yeah, those are a couple of ones that I can remember that stick out, um, that come to mind.
Yeah, I forgot that. uh, I didn't know about that they played each other against each other in a scrimmage, but I knew that Canick and Michael Bogue and Bogue had that Kansas connection. But like I
Hmm.
told you earlier today, uh, with the lack of defense that everyone in my chat and pretty much Sooner Nation seeing the lack of, especially in that defensive secondary that Oklahoma is known for, and seeing Michael on the field Saturday, it was like a breath of fresh air, Mike.
Yeah, it's it was. I'm not gonna say I was shocked, because I've been watching him do that since he was in kindergarten. Um, playing football when I started playing tackle football in kindergarten. Um, I'm not gonna say I was shocked, but I don't know if I thought he would play that well that early. You know what I mean? There's an adjustment
Right.
period from high school to college, the speed of the game. People are bigger, faster, stronger. But it's a testament to Michael. His willingness to work, the strength coaches, and all the coaches in there and coaching him up and getting him ready to play. And it's one of the reasons why I sent him there, because I had
Well,
faith
has oh,
that he would. That, I didn't send him there. Let me retract that. There's one of the reasons I was happy with that choice in him going there. Um,
right.
I just I was confident in these things would happen.
So has Michael given you any Smitty stories yet?
You know, he never really gave me any real like any Smitty stories, but he just talked about how hard it was, and how I think he had some the first week was difficult. I think there was some involvement with some trash cans, and he just told me it was hard. I was tired, but I kept pushing, and it kind of took him to another level of himself physically that he hasn't been to, and that he
Right.
could always give more. And it was eye opening to him, and it definitely made him realize there's more, and he could be better and do better.
Well, you know, watching Mike grow up and excel, I want to say I never have seen none of his highlight reels, but after watching him Saturday, I figure he excelled when he was in high school. At what point when he went from, I'll say, not Pee Wee, but you got that one class before JV, and then you got JV, and then you got varsity. At what point did you see that in your thought you was like, okay, did my son is going to be talented?
Huh. you know I I've told this story before. I was living in Columbus, Georgia at the time, and we were playing in the Columbus Youth Football League. Shout out to the Eastway Cherokees. And his kindergarten, his first time he put on pads, and they were doing some tackling drills and some hitting drills, and he trucked a kid, and I looked at my wife and I said, he's going to be a problem because he's not scared of contact, and it's been that way. And as a parent, you always hope that it could it could happen. Um, I think I think his freshman year, one of my friends on the coaching staff told me that he was going to start as a freshman, and I was like, really? And then watching him play his freshman year, and I was like, well, he's got a legit chance. He's definitely got a legit chance.
Uh, got another question for you from Rhyme and Lemon. All of us grow up with a favorite team. Did it go against your favorite team growing up when he chose OU?
Um, so a lot of people assume I'm a Nebraska Cornhusker fan because I grew up in Omaha. Um, but no, it didn't. I mean, I went to a different college, like we mentioned earlier. I went to New Mexico State, so I mean, I kind of, wasn't really a big Cornhusker fan moving forward from there. But yeah, I mean, New Mexico State, my alma mater, they offered him. Um, but I just he was. I don't want to say he was too good to go there, but when you have schools like Kansas State, Kansas, Michigan, Tennessee, all these big schools, like, why would a kid choose New Mexico State?
Right.
They had a couple good years last year. They went into the SEC and whooped up on Auburn, but I mean,
Hmm.
it just it was just, it didn't go. And me as a parent, like, I didn't want to influence my child, say, I want you to go here, and I wasn't one of those parents that got mad, right? So
Right.
I always let him, you know let him make his own decisions, and choose his path, and just help him along the way, because I didn't want it to be about me. I've been, my time's come and gone, and it was all about him, and I wanted him to, you know make his own decisions.
Well, that I mean, all of us will give you a pat on the back for that, because you see so many father sons who's played sports that they wanted their kids to be like them when they played, go to their school, blah blah blah. And it seems like with you let Michael make his own decisions, let let him go through the process, so to speak.
Yep. And I was just there to help. That was my main goal, was not get in the way and help. And we wanted to go see as many schools as possible during his recruitment, so he could get an idea, of what's out there, and what he really likes.
Well, getting back to the spring game, did you get to meet any former players while you on while you was there?
So not at the spring game. So one of the things that I was fortunate enough to attend a couple practices in the spring, and then in the last scrimmage I went to, I got to meet probably one of my favorite players. As you can see, I'm a Bucks fan, so I got to meet Gerald McCoy.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, that was pretty cool. I I was actually shocked when we walked by. I'm like, that's Gerald McCoy. You know what I mean? And it was something else.
Did you get to have a conversation with him?
Yeah, he was moving around watching the scrimmage, but we had a couple short conversations, about a couple things, and there's a couple recruits there, and he was telling me about one of the kids, and we had a couple short conversations. Yeah,
He's a very, very nice guy.
yeah,
He's raised right like Mike. I can tell Michael was raised in a good family. Gerald McCoy the same way. Uh,
hmm
I've met him a couple of times, and Gerald, he just went. The only adjective that I could describe Gerald is swag.
yeah. And it's funny, you're talking about raised right. I've actually met his dad before.
Oh
Um,
wow.
so the last season St. Louis was in. The Rams were in St. Louis. The Bucks played there. It was one of those NFL Thursday night games, and I had a Gerald McCoy jersey on that my kids had gotten me for Christmas, and his dad had come up and said, "Nice jersey. I'm Gerald's dad," and it was we talked a little bit after the game was over. We were in the concourse, and he walked by, and he said, "Come with me." And we followed him out to where all the Bucks players come out afterwards, and tried to get some autographs and everything. So I mean, it was actually pretty cool, that somebody would take the time out of their night and invite you to and show you the way and lead you down there to that. I
Well,
actually
my
told him that story at the practice
yeah.
because Gerald McCoy's dad was there.
Well, Mike, we got a guest showing up. He's from another Oklahoma podcast. His name is Coop from Unfair Sports. Coop, thank you
Oh,
for
Yes,
joining
sir.
us today.
what's up
Yes,
there,
sir.
big
How you doing?
dog? How you
What's
feeling,
going
Mike?
on? Oh, I'm doing good. I can't complain.
Yeah, yeah. Well, sorry, guys. I originally told Mike I'd hop on here with him, and then just because of you, I don't even like Mike the Legend. I'm here for the BOGO show, baby.
Yeah.
That's
Hey, I'm letting him have full reign.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
obviously, sir, you had your spring game, and I don't know if this has already been covered, but I mean, just walking around, seeing. I mean, obviously, there's a little bit of a step up in the stadium size from the high school ranks, but I mean, like, man, after a long, kind of end of the recruiting process, you see your son out there. Obviously, you and I, we have to share a story with Mike about the conversation we had under the tunnel. But you're out there watching your boy go crazy, and just, I mean, every single show is talking about him. Every
Yeah.
podcast, everything, right? And
Yeah.
it's because like he's a dog. So like, tell me your thoughts real quick about like, I mean, now that you've kind of taken it in, we're kind of rolling. I mean, how was the spring game atmosphere? And then did you guys pretty much see everything that confirmed?
Yeah. The spring game atmosphere, it's pretty large, like, you kind of pay attention on Twitter and you see other people's spring games
Mm-hmm.
you definitely like to you got to think that Oklahoma's, their fan base shows out and they love their Sooners. So we was actually at the spring game last year and really impressed
Much better, yeah.
then and as I was last Saturday.
Well, that's awesome. So we're downstairs grabbing an adult beverage, and we're kind of chopping up with Mike and a couple of other parents. And Jay and Mike were talking, and I think that Autry Dent, his father, was talking, and I'm staring at the guy. I'm just a football junkie, so I'm watching the screen, and I was like, "Hey, your boy just knocked somebody out." And Mike's first response was, "Yeah, but did you see that tackle he missed?" And I was like, "Hmm."
I remember that, but I tend to think I think about football a little different than most people, right?
Yeah.
Being a former player and being in meeting rooms and watching yourself on film, a lot of times the good stuff and the good plays, they go right past that. And when you mess up or miss a tackle or you're in the wrong gap, they just keep going back and showing it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's ingrained on me and that's, maybe I gotta stop. But I'm also probably more critical to my son than most, because I want him to be great and I want him to be good and I know what he's capable of. And so, yeah, probably not one of my finer moments, but
No. Hey, listen, I'm my daughter's soccer coach, and I have 12 to 15 alarms set on my phone to be gentle to her and to not be too tough. And then I've got, a couple other folks. So I mean, I understand it. I mean, as a former collegiate athlete too. I mean, same thing. It's, you don't hit your spot and you just look at it and you go, what were you doing? What was your thought process there? And it's like, oh,
yeah.
you can't hit exactly where you wanted to throw the ball every single time, can you, sir? So, but yeah, so tell me a little bit, what's Mike's reaction after the game? Have you talked to him much about just the game?
Yeah, he was obviously very happy with the way he played. You know, I didn't dwell too much on it because I I don't want to be that, the football dad, like, hey, what happened on this play? What happened on this play? Let's watch the film afterwards. This and that. My wife, his two brothers were there, and my mom was down. So we went out, had a nice dinner afterwards. Didn't talk too much about football. I mean, there's a little bit, but he was happy with the way he played. I always think you can play better, and he had a couple misses. The one that everybody's talking about, on the deep first Burks touchdown. When the ball was snapped, he was looking at his play thing, and I saw it from the stands too. And I might have cussed him under my breath a little bit, but I try not to make it all about football.
Yeah.
So he's happy with the way he played. I think he was satisfied with his spring game. We were obviously real happy with it. My wife, my mom, and his two younger brothers.
That's not bad. I mean, there was a time during the recruitment that, I wasn't sure if Oklahoma was going to be the pick, and I was just so thankful that I wouldn't have to see his ass at K-State for the next 4 years if he went there. And so, obviously, in just spending a little time with you at the game, I enjoy the hell out of you guys. And in talking to Mike, he just seemed like a terrific guy. And I've gotten to know a lot of players in this class. And so to know that he's part of a really good defensive class, and he's got great dudes there with him. I mean, that's never a bad thing.
Yeah. There's definitely, a lot of similar like-minded kids that come in this class. Look how many showed up for, enrolled early. I think the number was somewhere in the mid-20s, if I remember correctly. There's a lot of similar mindsets and a common goal and a theme there.
Yeah. I didn't know that you're a Bucks fan, so I think that we're even bigger friends now. So that's never bad.
Oh, I must let y'all know that I hit the transfer portal. I am now a Bucks fan. I have given up on the Cowboys. I am now with the orange sickle or whatever that color is.
Creamsicle.
I'm done with, and I've been a lifelong Cowboy fan as long as I've been a Sooner fan. But I'm done. I'm on the Bucks train now.
There's plenty of room on the ship.
All right.
I'm a lifelong Denver fan, and right now some of the stuff that's happening and all the moves that's going on, I don't know if they've got they're doing like a test where a monkey picks things and they just go with that, because Russell Wilson was strike one. Tim Tebow was strike one, Russell Wilson strike two, and then we might as well pick up Sam Darnold while we're at it, because
did you guys just pick up Zach Wilson?
Yeah. I mean, just if there's any other, potential terrible quarterback decisions, I think that, the Broncos are going to make that happen. And no offense to the gentleman, he could turn out to be a baller, but I'm not a big Bo Nix fan. And so to hear his name tied to the Broncos, not too thrilled about that. And again, I could be wrong.
Well, Coop, I was telling.
I stole your show. I'll let you.
No. Coop, this is the first time I've ever interviewed not just a football player, but a football player's dad. So I'm glad. I was trying to get Jason on here with me. I'm glad you showed up, because I'm too Captain Obvious. Mike, I've only had my podcast, Coop, since about December. So I'm very green.
Yeah.
I don't have any journalism knowledge or anything like that. My shows are like, whose line is it anyway? Everything's made up and the points don't matter.
That's awesome. Well, where'd you guys go eat after the game?
So we went to the ranch.
Okay.
Is right across the street from where we were staying. So yeah, we went to the ranch.
Nice. Did you guys? It was just family time, or did you see anybody else out?
Yeah, it was just family time. It was us and Reggie Powers' mom and dad. We all went to eat together. It it's pretty good food.
Gotta love it. It sounds like a Powers and Boganowski starting safeties for Oklahoma. It sounds like just a kick-ass law firm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I've been seeing some people on Twitter trying to make some nicknames here going on, so that's been kind of entertaining.
Coop can testify to this. When we was in the process of recruiting Michael, it seemed like every time I'd mention in their live chat, Boganowski is a football name. Mark that down.
Yeah, definitely.
Heard that before. Yep, heard that before.
But
so I'm gonna ask you a question. You can start talking about what you ordered for dinner if you don't even want to answer it. But when you guys were going through the recruiting process, what was the thing that you as a parent enjoyed the most, and what's the thing that just wore you out?
I enjoyed getting into the football centers and in the weight rooms, seeing all that stuff in the facilities. I really enjoyed that. Some of the stuff that can get repetitive is listening to them talk about, not just talk about themselves, but like talk about, academics and, what they need to get into the school.
Yeah.
Which is similar, minus like a Stanford or somewhere like that. So there's, obviously their stuff's a little higher, but I mean, after a while, that stuff it's kind of like, yeah, we got it, but always enjoyed getting in on campus, seeing the campus, football facilities, indoor weight room, all that stuff.
The food. Who brings the food? Like who brought the food? Like when you guys went, who just had the best food?
There's a couple schools that stick out. One, Oklahoma, and
Really?
Yeah, in Michigan.
Michigan?
Yeah.
What do they serve up there?
Man, they had I don't know what it was, but it was some kind of I don't know, it was just real sandwiches, but they were so good and they were so big. And I remember leaving Michigan and thinking to myself, man, I need to stop eating. I can't eat for like a day or two just to we went to a place called the Brown Jug, and I mean, they just kept bringing out food. They just kept bringing out food, and I was like, I can't do it anymore. I was like, I don't know why you keep bringing out food. I was like, I'm tapped. Those coaches aren't there no more, but they were tapping too.
That's
Coach
crazy.
Coach Partridge, and Connor Stallions were the guys that we were with. So yeah.
There you go. Did he have a camera on him?
No, but I'll tell you a funny story. We were watching one of the spring practices, and they were having a scrimmage, and there were some recruits there, and I think they were Ohio State leans, and the dad, or I don't know if it was the dad, but somebody in that group was filming the sideline and the plays while they were calling in their signals to the defense. And he come over and was like, hey, you guys can't be recording. And looking back at it, it was kind of funny. Being like, ironic. He's the guy. And
that's my job.
It was, yeah. And he was like, we're gonna change the signals anyway, but still, yeah, that was funny. But yeah, Oklahoma brought the food. Benvenuti's in Norman is probably my favorite Italian restaurant on earth.
Oh yeah.
Not bad.
And I've been to Italy, and I've been to Rome, and I've ate Italian food there. But I'm gonna tell you something, man. Benvenuti's is something else. Unbelievable.
That's I've got since y'all's talking about food and recruiting, one of the funniest recruiting and OU lore about recruiting and food was the great Eddie Hinton. He's a former wide receiver for OU that caught the last pass from Johnny Unitas, and that Eddie was talking about his recruiting, and he almost got recruited to OSU because they had better chicken fried steak. so, so that came to
I
my
tell you,
mind.
so when we went to Oklahoma State, we went there and for a game day visit and paid for food, and they actually ran out. So we didn't really get much. I had tacos and some other stuff, but yeah, they ran out. Kansas, University of Kansas, the Jayhawks, man, they had some good food too. They had good barbecue. They really did.
That's
Oh
good. Yeah.
wow!
So basically, what you're telling me is, whenever you see a recruiting visit change like the dates, it's because the parents have eaten too much food and they just need a break.
That could be that's a strong possibility. Very strong possibility. Very strong because they don't. Especially on official visits too. They don't hold back. There's food. There's
Yeah.
plenty of food to go around, and I mean, if you want to talk about official visits, like Oklahoma's spread is ridiculous. Um, and it was actually Ben Venuti's in Toby Keith's hangar. So it was
Oh,
I
really?
mean, it was just amazing. It was amazing. Lobster, tomahawk steaks, that pasta that they have that's real spicy. I can't remember the name right now. Um, but
Oh,
yeah,
I know which one you're
that
talking about.
that's
Yeah.
that stuff is amazing, man. And I sound real fat right now, but yeah, they lobster, all that stuff, man. Like it's really good. Can't leave out the neighborhood jam either.
Oh,
That that
yeah.
that 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 breakfast there is pretty official too.
They got some
Well,
rowdy French toast.
I was going to be
Mm.
at the spring game this year, but we had a father and son that moved to our community, and they're OU fans, but they've never been to a game much yet, let a spring game. So I donated them my tickets and said, "Here, go have fun, guys. Y'all can guarantee next year I will be at the Palace on the spring game."
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sounds good. Looks like it's our Make-A-Wish kid, Rhyming Lemon. He's got a question for you. I love him. I'm just giving him a hard time. He
Yeah,
wants
I
to know:
love it.
Are you surprised at the hate of Texas? Like, have you really fully felt it yet, or are you starting to get it?
It's funny you asked that. I've pretty much hated Texas my whole life. Um, you know, being growing up in Nebraska, being in Nebraska, in that culture, you don't like Texas. Um,
Hmm.
and then going to college, we played Texas a couple times. We were throwing the horns down in college when in the late '90s. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the hatred for Texas has always been there.
That
So being around the Nebraska, did you have the mutual respect for Oklahoma kind of growing up, or was it hate?
I probably would have considered myself somewhat of a closet OU fan up in Nebraska. I used to play with Oklahoma on the old NCAA football on the PlayStation. Uh, Jamel Holloway, watching
yes,
him as a young kid, I was like, that dude's good, man. And
Oh,
I've,
yeah.
I've I always liked Oklahoma. Never disliked them. I, yeah, the Boz. I mean, how do you not love the Boz, right?
The I went to the OU game. I want to say it was 96. It's the one where I think we lost 73-21 or something in that neighborhood. And that was my first kind of out of town game. And I kid you not. If I liked the color orange just that much more, I'd probably be an OSU fan at that point in my life. My whole family was OSU guys. I just hate orange, and I'm a Broncos fan, and then the Thunder's colors are orange, so it's kind of hurts my heart every single time. But it just I couldn't stand it. But yeah, getting to go up there and see that rivalry, that is just, it's something that college football was robbed of. So do you think that, rivalries like that with Oklahoma, Nebraska, do you think that it's better served that we go to like a 2-conference type of a system and get back to just where we can play anybody? Or do you think that's like just let's pray that we can meet in the playoff at some point in the future?
I think there's, and I kind of look at it like this, right? Like people, or like my son's age, like they don't know about that. They don't know about the Oklahoma-Nebraska rivalry. They just don't, because it's been so long since Nebraska was good. Nebraska's just been a subpar team for my son's whole life. But I really wish there are some rivalries, no matter what happens with the conferences, that you have to have, right?
Yeah.
Even Oklahoma State, now that Oklahoma's going into the SEC, I still think that's got to be played. I think I think you got to play Nebraska too. I was hoping that they would. I seen they scheduled Michigan a couple years. That could be cool. But you can form new rivalries, and there could be new rivalries that could be something big too. But I mean, yeah, like Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State, like that's you gotta keep those going.
Yeah.
Yeah, my very first OU Nebraska. Oh, I'm sorry, Coop.
No, I was saying, go ahead, buddy.
My very first OU Nebraska game was the one that was held the game of the century, 1971. And even though we lost, I tell you what, that was some more game.
Yeah.
And
my old D line coach, Rich Glover, he was the guy in that game, the game of the century.
yeah, Rich Glover. Remember him well.
Yeah, he was my D line coach in college.
Oh my goodness, was he?
I
Wow.
got too many concussions and too many other memories. I just cannot remember. Like, I think my memories of like OU football, is more about where I was at watching the game versus what was on the game. But okay, how about this one? Who was your favorite Bob Stoops era player?
I'm a defensive guy, so I'd have to go with McCoy.
Okay, and especially being a Buck, that's not going to hurt.
Yeah. No, let me tell you, I was pumped when we drafted him. That's for sure. I was happy that happened. But yeah, I'd probably say McCoy.
So not Matt McCoy, the safety from Tulsa, but like Gerald McCoy, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Big Joe. Yep.
Can I answer that question too, Coop?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Mine was Roy Williams.
Yeah.
I will definitely say that my favorite, probably out of the Bob Stoops, like there's, massive respect for a lot of those guys, but I would probably say it's probably a tie between Brandon Everidge and Derek Strait. Both of those guys, and both of those guys were just terrific. But I loved Teddy Lehman, like just a fast linebacker. Just that's got a sweet spot in my heart. But then, I would say that, some of those early defensive line guys like Corey Klein and Dusty Dvorak and Dan Cody. It's just, there's so much. And so I guess that kind of puts me in this question here is when Junior's done with his years in college, what do you think like the top 2 things that you really want him to have accomplished or achieved, when he's done?
Definitely I think a master's degree is attainable. Um, with the kids now in college, staying around in summer and taking a couple summer classes. A master's degree is probably number one on the list. And two, for me, just being, you know, the best football player he can be at Oklahoma, and
Mhm.
whatever his goals are, whether it's being all SEC or I really probably loved. I want a national championship. He wants to win a national championship, and I think that's probably the number one goal for him, and the whole state of Oklahoma and all the Sooner fans.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't had one in what, Coop, 24 years?
Yeah, we're gonna have a quarter century celebration next year. So I'd like to do some damage this year. That way, that's not people will call take a shot at Oklahoma for not doing it.
Wha-
But I mean, it's not like the rest of the country has been just dominating and we're just the ones left out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like three teams. So and then sporadic. So hopefully we don't have to play championship games in the backyard of like LSU in Louisiana or Florida down in Miami or something like that. So but I'm excited. I think that the SEC move, I mean, it's going to bring out the best, because I think that with the younger cats, like obviously Boganowski and Powers, Jackson and Stone, Okoye and Smith, all these young cats following now, it's poetic. I think that our first team in the SEC were riding our defense. Like,
Yeah.
how more poetic could it be? Because if we had a Lincoln Riley offense and a speed D again, I think we might be talking about Senor Boganowski in Nebraska.
Yeah. Well, offense wins games, defense wins championships, right?
That's right, brother.
That's it. Mike,
That's
that's
a
all I
fact.
got for
There's a
I
lot of good. There's so much talent on the offensive side of the ball too. I mean, like there's, you gotta shout out, the offensive staff. But Coach Beatonbow, he's taking a lot of heat, but dude, you can't question that guy. He's gonna get it done, like he does every
now
year.
look
Coach Jones. I mean, look at the receivers, man. It's
Emmett Jones for a raise.
spoils are riches. Yeah, spoils are riches. The linebackers. I mean, come on, man. Or not linebackers, but running backs.
Yeah.
Stacked. It's just.
It's.
I mean, look at our quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Trust me.
You're starting to see it. It's coming.
Trust me.
Well,
Listen, we know offense around here, like, obviously, and I think, like, I've already said that if our offensive line is average, I think this team can win 10 games. I think if our offensive line is good, we're fighting tooth and nail to for a playoff opportunity. And then I think if our offensive line is great, like there's something else. So yeah, there's a lot to be happy about here.
Oh,
yeah, you got to win in the trenches.
Yep. Y'all was talking about memories and everything. One thing I contribute, that my memories of Sooner lore and legends and what I've grew up watching, is one, I've never did drugs in my life. Never wanted to, never that. And two, I was in a period where most of the games had to be listened to on a radio because of that era, especially with the probation period. So a lot of things sticks out in my mind listening to the radio. So that, Mike, that's the reason I formed this channel, is to give people an insight look at the older history of OU football.
And early legends or up and coming legends. So, it's
early
able to look back in like 3 or 4 years and be like, do you remember when we had Boganowski on before his son even played a game, and now he's a Hall of Famer, or whatever. But it's it's fun to get to, involve the parents in this, because I mean, this really is a family. And when Venables, I mean, Stoops had family, like the Stoops class, I mean, the Stoops regime was about family also.
Yeah.
But Brent has just taking it different way. So now there's psychos on every single fan base. They're
Yep.
absolutely, and we've got our share. And you're probably seeing it on Twitter. Oh, there you go, right there. Everybody's got their fan of idiots. So I mean, their share of idiots. And so, lucky for us, we can just send them down south if they get too out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he can take it. Nobody's harder on him than I am. Trust me. He can take it, man. I can take it. I've seen people, just imagine you living 20 minutes from Manhattan, Kansas, and your son choosing Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's crazies everywhere, and
Oh yeah.
we're good. We can handle it.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am friends that he's not a family member, but Coop will know who I'm talking about. Our legendary secondaries coach, Bobby Proctor, that coached from 73 to 91. And I was talking to him yesterday, and he said, Mike, wouldn't have Coach Proctor have loved to have had Boganowski on his team? I said, yes. I said, because when Bobby was coaching, Mike, there was only one freshman after freshman was allowed to play in 72. There was only one freshman that ever got to start for Bobby Proctor, and you seen his picture. That was Zach Henderson, and he was giving us Zach Henderson vibes, and he said, Bobby would have probably played Boganowski as a freshman with how intense he plays.
Yeah. He's definitely very talented, and but there's some dudes in front of him, so
Yeah.
I mean, he's gonna have to wait his time and make sure he's ready, and when it comes time for him to get on the field, he's got to be prepared mentally and physically.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
just keep a level head. Don't let one spring game and everything go to his head, and that's my job to keep him grounded.
Yeah.
Keep him focused on the mission. Just one spring game isn't a career.
Right.
He's got some more games and a couple more years of football to keep getting better and make plays.
What is his measurables right now?
So he's probably about 6'2", 6'2.5", and I want to say he's probably 215. He's 212 a month or two ago, so I'll probably say
Holy
he's about
smoke.
215. Yeah.
Good God.
Does he?
Ouch.
Where does he want to? Where does he want to play at? Like 225, 220?
I don't. I think they want to keep him right around the 212, somewhere in that vicinity. Yeah.
Wow.
He hits like a 250 at 215. So I mean, as long as you preserve the speed, that's great. I mean, listen, from everything that everybody around, and whether it's listening to Eichert and Lehman on the Oklahoma Breakdown, which they obviously know their stuff, to anything I've seen. I mean, like I said, a lot of people are tossing his name in there with guys who could play early. And so, he'll get his chance. He'll get his chance to see the field in the first couple games, and then, we got our active bye week with Maine towards the end of the season, and so get to but I hope to see him in between there too. So I mean, that'd be a pretty cool opportunity.
Yeah, and it's there. He's got opportunities, and he's got to seize them and make the best of them, and just keep control what you can control and keep working and keep learning. And when Billy Bowman came back, I was like, hey man, you got a unique opportunity to like be that guy's shadow. I was like, because he's a baller, he's been there, he knows what's going on, and I'm like, you need to maximize every minute that you have with him, because when he goes to the league, you know, and that he's not there no more. So you gotta soak it in from him, man. You gotta be a shadow.
Well, it coming from my standpoint, Mike, it seems like that he has wonderful parents in that's backing him, and it sounds like he's got a dad that's going to keep him grounded to keep him from getting above the clouds. That's one thing I love to hear, Mike, coming from you.
Yep. Well, thank you.
And
Yeah, I mean, you gotta stay grounded.
yeah. Well, listen, guys, we've been going about an hour. I've got to get some dinner started. Mike, thank you so much for coming on my show, sir. And you're more than welcome to come back anytime you want to. You just DM
Yes,
me on
sir.
Twitter. Hey, Mike, let's do a show, and I'll be
Oh,
there. Coop,
thank you.
Coop, you're on my show regular. So, and don't think, Coop, that I don't appreciate you coming on, sir, because I've learned so much from you since I've been doing this. You and Jay, y'all have been a real big help.
Well, you just need to be better at just bullshitting like I am, because I just make stuff up half the time. So it's always good. No, but no,
Yeah.
you know, it's anytime that I oh no, we've got a number of how many beers were consumed at the spring game. Do you want to give a range, like more than one and then less than 50?
Well, Lim and I didn't go to the spring game, so
Let's see.
During the
I thought he was
spring
calling Mike
game,
a legend.
oh, I only had 2 listening to it.
I mean, so I try to limit myself, because you never know what's going to happen. You know, your son could go out there and you know, do something good or do something bad, and then you hear people talking. So I try to limit myself. So, you know, I don't have too many, and I lose all my inhibitions and just start running my mouth. So yeah, I think I had 3.
I saw you drinking water. That's all I saw.
Yeah, I think
Michael
I had
Sursa.
one before the game, 1 and 1 in each half.
Yeah, Michael Sursa. One thing that our football team is known for is having girlfriends on the softball team, and Michael Sursa said, "Get him a girlfriend on softball."
It kind of ties you down to the campus, and I mean we got some pretty good freshmen on this team. So if you need to let me know, just you know, he's got Billy. Billy can escort. I mean, Billy's got the in right there.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, him and Jada Coleman. Well, listen, guys, thank y'all so much for coming on the show. Coop, tell everybody where they can find you at, brother.
Yeah, check us out, Unfair Sports on the old X. If anybody still in the chat hasn't caught up with my non-hacked Twitter account, check me out. It's Eric_Cooper82.
And y'all can catch me on the X at Sooner Cowboy 1969 or here at YouTube under Sooner Legends Podcast. Mike, thank you so much for coming on the show today, sir. I really enjoyed it. You're a stand-up guy, brother.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
And everybody, y'all don't forget to give Unfair Sports a like and subscribe. And if y'all could give me one also. So we're going to get out of here. We'll see y'all later. God bless and Boomer Sooner.